You understand English. Movies make sense. You read posts online. You follow YouTube videos without subtitles. Sometimes you even build full sentences in your head, clear sentences, smart sentences. But then someone asks you a simple question: where are you from? And suddenly everything disappears. Your brain goes blank. Your heart starts beating faster. You panic, and the only thing that comes out is something like, yes, I from Poland. And the moment passes. You walk away thinking the same painful thought: what is wrong with me? How can someone understand a language so well and still feel completely unable to speak it? Most people think the problem is vocabulary, or grammar, or practice, but the real reason is much deeper and much more human, because the truth is, your English isn't the problem. Your brain is simply trying to protect you. Let's imagine a small moment. You're sitting with friends, maybe at work, maybe traveling, maybe online. Everyone is speaking English. You understand everything. You follow the conversation. You even have thoughts you want to share. A joke comes to mind, a good opinion, a smart response. But while everyone else speaks freely, you stay silent. Inside your head, the sentence forms slowly. You check the grammar. You adjust the words. You rehearse it once, twice, 3 times. And by the time you feel ready to say it, the conversation has already moved on. The moment is gone, and your sentence stays trapped inside your head. If this has ever happened to you, you're not alone. Millions of people live inside this quiet frustration, understanding everything, saying almost nothing. But here's the strange part. When you speak your native language, you don't think like this. You don't check grammar. You don't calculate sentence structure. You don't panic about pronunciation. You simply speak. Words flow, naturally, effortlessly, almost automatically. So what changed? Why does your brain suddenly become so careful, so slow, so afraid the moment you switch to English? The answer begins with something very simple: fear. Not the dramatic kind, not the fear of danger, but a quiet social fear. The fear of looking stupid, the fear of being judged by others, the fear of making mistakes in front of others. Your brain is extremely sensitive to this kind of threat. Thousands of years ago, humans lived in small tribes. Being accepted by the group meant survival. Being rejected meant danger. So our brains developed a powerful instinct: avoid embarrassment, avoid humiliation, avoid social mistakes. And guess what? Speaking a new language is full of mistakes: wrong grammar, strange pronunciation, weird pauses. To your brain, this feels risky, so your brain tries to protect you, not by helping you speak, but by stopping you. And it does this in a clever way. It slows you down. It makes you overthink. It pushes you to analyze every word before speaking. Your brain whispers, wait, check the grammar first. Maybe that word is wrong. Better stay quiet. From the outside, it looks like you forgot English, but inside, your brain is simply running a safety system. Pause for a moment and think about the last time you wanted to speak English but didn't. Maybe in class, maybe during a meeting, maybe traveling. Ask yourself honestly, what stopped you? Was it really lack of vocabulary, or was it something else? That tiny voice saying, what if I say it wrong? This voice becomes even stronger for people who study a lot. Yes, strangely, the more grammar you learn, the more pressure you feel, because now you know what correct English should sound like. You know the rules, the structures, the perfect sentence, and suddenly every mistake feels bigger, more embarrassing, more visible. Your brain becomes a strict teacher, watching every word you say, correcting you before you even speak. and slowly your confidence disappears. But here's the twist most people never realize. Fluent speakers make mistakes all the time, even native speakers. Grammar mistakes, wrong words, strange sentences. It happens constantly, but they don't stop. They don't panic. They don't analyze every sentence. They just keep talking because communication isn't about perfect sentences. It's about connection. Let's look at a simple example. Imagine someone says, "Yesterday I go to store and buy food." The grammar isn't perfect, but you understand everything. The message arrived, communication succeeded, language did its job. Now imagine the opposite situation. Perfect grammar, perfect vocabulary, but the person never speaks. The message never leaves their mind. Which one communicates better? The imperfect speaker. Every time. This is where many English learners get stuck. They think speaking is the final step, something you do after learning enough, after mastering grammar, after building vocabulary. But language doesn't work like that. Speaking is not the final stage. Speaking is the training. Think about how children learn language. They don't study grammar books. They don't memorize vocabulary lists. They speak badly, terribly, thousands of mistakes, broken sentences, strange words, and nobody stops them. Nobody judges them, so they continue, and slowly fluency appears. But adults learn differently. Adults want to be correct. Adults want to sound intelligent. Adults want to avoid embarrassment. So instead of practicing badly, they wait. They wait until they feel ready, until their English feels perfect, until their confidence appears. But confidence doesn't appear before speaking. Confidence appears after speaking, after hundreds of imperfect conversations, after hundreds of small mistakes, after hundreds of moments where nothing bad actually happens. Pause again for a moment and imagine something. Imagine speaking English for 10 minutes every day, not studying, not memorizing, just speaking, badly, slowly, uncomfortably, for 1 year, 3,000 minutes of speaking. Do you think your brain would still panic the same way? Of course not, because your brain would learn something important. Speaking English is safe. This is how fear disappears, not through knowledge, through experience, through repetition, through survival. Every time you speak and nothing bad happens, your brain relaxes a little more. The safety system slowly turns off, and suddenly words begin to flow. Many people wait years before allowing themselves to speak freely, but the real breakthrough often happens in a much simpler moment. The moment someone stops trying to sound perfect and starts trying to communicate, not impress, communicate, not perform, connect, and something magical happens. People understand them, they respond, they smile, they continue the conversation, and the learner suddenly realizes something surprising. My English is actually enough. Real fluency doesn't begin when your grammar becomes perfect. It begins when your fear becomes smaller than your desire to speak, when sharing your thoughts becomes more important than avoiding mistakes, when you stop asking, "Is this sentence correct?" and you start asking, "Did they understand me?" Because language was never meant to be perfect. Language was meant to be human, messy, imperfect, alive. So the next time your brain freezes during an English conversation, remember this. Your silence is not a lack of knowledge. It's a sign that your brain cares about safety. It wants to protect you, but sometimes protection becomes a prison, and the only way out is a small act of courage. One sentence, even if it's imperfect, even if it's slow, even if it feels uncomfortable. Because every fluent speaker you admire once stood exactly where you are, understanding everything, saying nothing, until one day they decided to speak anyway. And maybe the real question isn't, "Why can't I speak English?" Maybe the real question is, how many perfect sentences are still trapped inside your head, and how different would your life look if you finally let them out?